Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast. We got hooked up at Autumn Oaks this year, which was an awesome event, and it was really cool being there in the media booth because we were set in with all you guys in the breed organizations, which was really handy for conversation, in between the crowds, because it was really either hot or not in there. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's either jam packed or it's empty. So I had the pleasure of meeting TJ Bolin here. I'm going to introduce you. And y'all might understand who he is now because Ben Sheets, I was joking with him today. He just did a podcast with you that launched, yesterday?
Yeah.
Which was great. So everybody, if you want to learn more about TJ, you can go over and listen to Tree Talking Time.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
And he covered a lot of your hunting and the dogs and whatnot. So I don't want to make this a redundant thing, but I do want to talk a little bit about it because you've got those red dogs, and out here, it's so funny. We joked with our kids. They said, "Dad, what's a red bone?" And Mom says, "It's nothing you're going to have to worry about." Because there's not a lot of them out here.
Oh, come on.
And we were blue tick people, but you've got a beautiful little female that you were gracious enough to let us go out on a cast with you at Autumn Oaks with. And Penny is quite the little dog. You want to kind of fill us in on how you got hooked on the red bones and just what it was with them?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I've been around the red bones pretty much since I got my start back in the late 90s. I was pretty young and had a hip injury, and a neighbor gifted me a red bone female. And I haven't looked back since. I've raised dogs out of her and kind of did this, that, and the other, and made more connections with more red bone guys. I've been blessed to have a lot of good red bones over the years. So, and which is great and awesome. I've made so many good friends and seen a lot of good dogs and good red bones. To be honest, that's all that I've ever had, and it's who I am. Everybody asks me, well, why do you hunt them? I'm like, well, that's kind of a long answer to a question that probably shouldn't be so long, but answered. But it's what
red.
I like to do.
Didn't you say they're red? You got red chickens and a red-headed wife.
I do, but I do have a mixed flock of chickens. But I do tell everybody if I was to get animals, I think they'd all have to be red. I mean, it really started, I guess, with my wife's the redhead, all that, it's just the way. I guess they think that I really have just the color red, but I really got hooked on the breed of dogs, and what about the dogs? They're just their temperament. I like how they hunt. I know how to get along with them. I know how to train them. I understand quite a bit about the genetics. It's definitely a work in progress with different lines and strains and deciding what crosses to make next and what we want to try. But I definitely know what I've liked over the years. I've hunted long enough to know what traits I like, what lines of dogs I really like, and what I like to see and try and mix with lines and things like that. But yeah, I'm blessed with a little red bone female right now. I actually was lucky to find her and got gifted her by a guy by the name of Chris Gay out in Nebraska, a Walker dog man that came by her, was going to make her into a competition dog himself. And for whatever reason, how things go, just timing wasn't right. And dog needed a little bit of work. And I was the red bone guy that was really interested in her and familiar with the bloodlines that she carried. And, timing was right for me, and that's how most dog stories go. You move a good young dog around, usually it ends up working out, especially if the guy's
Right.
interested in that dog, And so it was kind of a step back in time for me. She's out of a semen dog. I had a litter mate to her sire. I'm trying to remember back when that was. It had to be in the mid 2000s, sometime when that dog or that litter of dogs was born. Maybe near around 2010, but I'm not even. It had to be probably closer to 2008, somewhere in there. But so the dog has been gone for a while, and so he made this cross. Penny just turned 3. Actually, I was talking to the guy that made the cross the other day, Bill Rodeman, and he was telling me about there was like 6 pups in that litter, maybe 7, somewhere between 6 and 8, and almost everything in the litter had made a good dog. And they got a male dog. I believe the name of the dog is Levi, and Billy Stark, his partner down in Arkansas, owns him. And I'm looking forward to see what he can do. He just showed up at a youth hunt not too long ago. I posted on the National Redbone Association
I saw that.
Facebook page. So that's Penny's litter mate, and he got a lot of likes. The little young man with the big flashy red male dog got a lot of likes on the Facebook page the other day. Made
I'll
me
bet it
chuckle.
did.
Made me chuckle. I was like, yeah, this is good. So, so I'm kind of
That's your
excited to
new
see
poster child right there for the red bones.
big flashy red bone
That's
male
funny.
young man. Yeah,
Well, and she's the second red bone I can think of that I know named Penny. It's funny,
really.
buddy, the owner in W, he had Copper and Penny, and a really good hunting partner of mine. He lives here semi-local. He had I guess it was a pup off of them, or one of them anyway, same lineage of dogs. And it's funny that through all the years, and you played the 7 degrees of bacon, we knew the dogs, and I'd hunted with the offspring. So it's funny, like the red dogs out here, there's not a lot of them, but her name was Penny also, and she was a pretty cool dog
It's a
by the sounds of it.
pretty popular name. Actually, she got the name Penny because she wasn't named that when I got her, but the reason why I went and got her is because she carried this Penny female from a guy by the name of Ed Brown that owned like the dog named Oklahoma Red Twister and those dogs. So Penny and this pup out of Penny named Coochie Brown were Mr. Brown's brood females. They were his females that he built his kennel on, and she carried those dogs in her
Oh,
pedigree a lot there in the third, fourth, fifth generation. So I'm like, Penny B, this is Penny Bolin, this is her, this is little Penny right here.
there you go.
So her name was like Bumblebee. I'm like, yep, Penny B, this is her name right here. We kept B, and I would
That's
just call her
awesome.
Penny, but that.
She's beautiful too.
Well, thank you.
I mean, like I said, I don't get to see a lot of them, but she is a really tight little female, and she's got like, for me, I like she's not really extended in the rear. She's
Mhm.
conformationally a really really nice bitch, and the temperament. I've hunted with some competition dogs, not many, so I'm not like making a generalized assumption, but I really hate babbling. Like anytime I turn a dog loose, it drives me absolutely crazy. And it's crazy to me how some of these dogs just leave out of there, just
Yeah.
go into town, right?
Oh yeah.
But she had a great handle on her. She was never like, I don't want to say quick to act. Like she seemed like a very alert dog, but not like an overly reactive dog. She was kind of steady her whole night on her own in some really bad conditions. I guess that thunderstorm was rough.
Well, I think we turned her loose and didn't see her until I don't know, probably over an hour into the cast. I probably treated her at I don't know around 40 minutes or so. I think if I remember right into the cast,
I would say that's pretty close.
and we had already made 2 other trees and we hadn't seen her. And it started
And she
raining
was still
real
off
hard.
hunting.
She was raining and thundering really hard the whole time she was treeing, and she was over there about I think it was right about a half a mile from where I treed her. And then it started getting windy and started blowing.
It got gnarly.
Yeah, it was.
I
But
think at one point you were like 7/10 from her
yeah,
before before we called we call timeout, or did somebody?
No, we
I
had to
can't.
go to that dog's tree. So I guess I treed her in at about that 6 or 7 tenths mile, of a mile away
Yeah,
from us. And then it got really windy when we were, I guess, about 800 yards or half a mile away from her. And I was
they
like,
couldn't hear her no more.
oh my goodness, we didn't know that. No, I mean, that's the risk we take when we go to hunt. And, it is what it is.
Oh, I will say though, driving out there, we saw those clouds and saw what was coming. And all I could think of was poor Talon with that camera with him.
I
Cause
know.
I mean, that is not a cheap camera. And I'm like, stupid me. I didn't even think of like a poncho or something. Like I had him, you had boots, you loaned him. I mean, like it worked out, but I was feeling bad about that camera because when it started coming down, it was coming down big drops
It
and
didn't hurt it, did
windy.
it?
No, I don't think so. He didn't say it did. I'm assuming no, or I
I'm
probably
hoping
would have got a
not.
bill.
I'm hoping not. Yeah.
But yeah, and then shoot, a lot happened on that cast. I don't want to get into like all the details because it was kind of a unique situation. But I will say we were walking and you had to go get Penny and the cast split because we you had to go get your dog. She was out by main road, wasn't it? It was real close.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we took off walking and I thought, well, I'm not going to leave this guy out here. He invited me on his cast. I'm not just leaving. Like I had no way to find you, but I kind of knew the general direction the dog was, and I knew there were roads. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to find TJ. And luckily, the other one of the other gentlemen in our cast, Bill Lester, I actually knew from way back and had sold him a blue tick puppy that he had done like King and Show at Southwest Tree and Walker days, and he was off my Henry mail. So it's been years since I'd talked to him, and he happened to be there too. I just bumped into him, and then we all get drawn out on the same cast. So it was kind of crazy, but he hands me a Garmin and he says, well, here, I got the truck mark just in case. So I take it and I start walking in the direction, and all of a sudden there's a farm, like clearly, like a barn there. And there's lights. And I'm like, oh man, it says this is a road, but this looks like a driveway to me. And I keep kind of walking, and then I see you coming. I'm like, okay, cool, let's get out of here.
No,
And somebody apparently it must have been 2 a.m, at
no,
least one.
it was after midnight. Yeah.
Yeah. And we just hear, what are y'all doing? I mean, like something I would think of out of a movie. And I'll never forget. You just responded, "Oh, we're just out here coon hunting, getting our dog." And all this guy says is, "Okay." And then the light flipped off pretty much. It's like, you're a long ways onto my property. Click. That was it. And there was no hassle. But on the way out on the corner of his barn, he had that sign. I got guns and a backhoe and I know how to use them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, me and this dude are kind of bonded now.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's my pre-recording. I mean, I just say that, try and be as cordial and as nice as I can because you just never know who you're going to encounter out coon hunting around wherever you're at. But I always kid around and say the Midwest. But I mean, I've hunted southern states, eastern states. I've never really hunted out west, but you hunt in areas where there's homes like that out in the middle of a section in a
mm-hmm.
area where there's nobody, really around, and uh, you just hope that person's not very scared, and you just, hope for a good situation like that, and you didn't startle them or make them too mad, and you just try and be nice and polite, and there's
Right.
nothing you can do. I mean, you're already there. Your dog took you there. Your guide was the one that really put you in the spot. Like, so you just hope to keep those situations to the minimum when you get out there and try and
Yeah.
smooth them over as best you can. And that one was a really smooth one.
Yeah, no, it went super smooth. I was impressed after my last encounter. It was not not nearly as bad. And it just kind of lends to, I'll get back to Penny, but you just kind of forced me into this because the main reason I wanted to talk to you really is just kind of after getting to meet you and know you a little bit and seeing your interaction, you are very big on promoting us as sportsmen, as houndsmen in a good light. You just seem to really put that focus on outreach and youth. I mean, not just in our hunting, but also in your profession.
Mhm.
And it's great because we need people like that in our sport. And when we sat down in front of the camera, it was really cool for me because it's like I'm watching it on film already, even though I'm right there. Like I'm the one who gets to watch this before it goes down. And just the way you conduct yourself, and you can tell you're very genuine about this and the outreach within the breeds and crossing color lines and all of that. But these hunts, they can go really south. I have been on really bad casts before, and this one that you and I would went on, it was really it was interesting. I felt like it was really handled well in most cases. I think that there was, obviously differences in opinion, but it was not this huge blow up, freak out, other than, yeah, tense moments at times, right? We all get excited. But what happened is we had filmed with you at Autumn Oaks to do kind of an interview. And then when you allowed us to go out on the cast with you, we were filming this event. And our goal is to put together just like a short little video and to promote hound sports as a general thing. And you reached out to me a couple days after and said, "Hey, I would just like to talk to you because I want to make sure that there aren't I can't remember if you said hard feelings or misunderstandings about last night, because it's really important to me that we portray ourselves well." And that spoke like huge volumes to me, and it allowed an open conversation, with us as far as what we print in Full Cry or what we put on the podcast at W. That's my number one focus, is that we are not loading the ammunition for the antis. We are portraying ourselves accurately and showing those good sides. But what what made you take on that? I don't want to say burden because it's a blessing and a burden, but like stepping up, and you're super active in that. Like what I'd like to talk a little bit about how you're involved, and beyond that into your involvement through your ag teaching. You're really connected, and you're one of those people that seem to just really put a lot out there and a lot of effort. And you always made us feel, every time we've talked or we videoed, you were there in the moment and you were giving people your attention. You were very engaged, and that's captivating because a lot of times that doesn't happen. I mean, even with me, half the time with my kids, I'm half there and then I'm half glazed. But you were right there with us, and god dang, man, it was a lot of fun. That we recorded way more than we'll ever use, I'm sure, but we had a great time. And I want to know what fuels your fire for that.
Well, I appreciate those comments, and I take them as a compliment, a huge compliment. But I guess it's just kind of who I am. I don't know. Might be partially kind of how I was raised, my parents, and, what we did all through when I was growing up. I mean, we did what we enjoyed to do, and we had to take care or be mindful of the things that we appreciated doing. We needed to share with others, or we felt like we should share with others that were interested in it. And my dad was a horseshoer, and so we were around that business and those people all the time, and got into the horse pulling there for a while with that. So uh, very similar animal athletes kind of thing there. But when I got into the dog sports, I think it's just more or less the people that I've been around the entire time that I've been doing it. And maybe I should really maybe thank my parents, my dad, you know, mostly because he was the one there for a lot of it. But my mom's always been a big supporter of what we've been doing. We just always that uh, just a really strong moral compass to always do the right thing, stand up for what you believe in, make that decision for what's right. Um, Whether it's easy to do or not, you should always make that decision for what's right for what's going on. Like that person might not always be what benefits you the best. It could be what benefits the sport or that person that had that bad thing happen to them or whatever. So then I think that just kind of translates down. and just kind of trickles down. And now where I'm at in my life, I'm 37 years old. I've been a high school ag teacher for 8 years now. I worked for my wife's grandpa on the farm and farmed some land and did some of that things while I was in my right out of college days. Worked some odd jobs for some, for some farmers, and still good friends and acquaintances with those guys to this day. And actually just made some connections with them within the last month. Part of them was due to my podcast with Ben Sheets the other day, Tree Talk and Media. So,
See, it was
it
worth
just,
your time, right?
I mean, it's just those connections that we make early on in life. And I guess as a teacher, um, I try to reiterate that and teach that to young people. But, when you're 14, 15, 16 years old, you don't always, uh, you might hear, but you're not always going to, believe it or put it to action until you get a little bit more mature. But
Yeah.
that's one of my main things I focus on as a teacher, is trying to build those positive connections, being in those positive situations around the right people. So I guess to circle back to coon hunting, I had some really, really good mentors. I mean, so my parents put me in the right spots around the right people, but it was just the number of people that I have been made acquaintance with, been friends with, hunted with, done business with. I've had so many more positives than negatives, and it makes those hard, tough situations so much easier to handle if you've got the ability to treat people fairly, and or not the ability, but you have the desire and you want to always make those situations go smoothly. Man, you're going to have some positive situations in your life, whether you're doing this or something
Yeah.
else. Whatever you're, uh, whatever you're into, whenever we first started our conversation tonight, you mentioned being in the cars and stuff like that with your dad, and the hot rod business. I host with my students every year. We've done it for like 3 or 4 years now. We host a car show at our little old community of like, less than 1,000 people in our little town. We
Oh,
bring over
cool.
100 cars to this car show from 3 states every year, every day, or every car show on Labor Day. So I left
That's
Autumn Oaks,
awesome.
and then the next day we're hosting a car show with my FFA members, and it's not just a little one; it's a pretty
That's a
big
big
event,
one.
And so even the connections that we make, crossing over into whatever we do within our daily interactions in life, whatever that may be. I kid around that maybe I learned how to deal with people through going to coon hunts, and because coon hunts just provide you with competitive coon hunts provide you with a lot of different situations that you got to walk through, and you got a set of rules that you have to abide by, and the honor
Right.
system that you're put into when you're appointed to be a judge. You're put into a position of trust. That you're going to person of integrity, that you're going to make sure that the decisions that are made right and fairly within that cast. And
Right.
if decisions can't be made, there's a process to be followed to bring them back to be reviewed by master hounds or a panel. And so you got to know how to channel those situations. So I kid around and say, that's you can handle some tough situations if you can go to those organized coon hunts. Like it's because
It's
everybody
true
wants to
though.
win, and you have 4 dogs that go to each cast, and you only have one winner, and sometimes you don't even have a winner. Like our cast, we ran into
Yeah,
some bad
ours
luck.
was dead.
We had a dead cast, and
We saw what, 3 coons? It was still
I
dead
don't know. We
cast.
did see 2, I think, for
It
sure.
was, yeah, it was 2.
And I can't. Sometimes it's just tough, and uh,
Well, and you were feeling bad about it, and all we thought was, we got some, like, this was great for Talon to come out and his first time coon hunting. I'm sure that was an experience.
oh yeah, yeah,
But you were just really, really opening, and offering us to go with you, and we really appreciated that. And it was nice to get to know you a little more afterwards, because that's, like I said, that's why I wanted to talk to you, is you're a great ambassador, and you've pretty much got me and Ben convinced that we're going to come out to a hunt near you one of these times so that we can just come hang out.
well, we I'm Secretary Treasurer of the National Redbone Association. I've done that for 10 years and been on the board, I think 10 years before that or something like that. So as soon as I was old enough to be on the board, I was on the board of the Redbone Association. So I've seen so many things as being part of that and helped out with different, Redbone days each year. And then going to those larger events, the Winter Classics, the Autumn Oaks, and all those events. So, just being able to provide that event or those types of events and awards for redbone enthusiasts, your redbone hunters and fanciers is essentially what you're trying to support. You're trying to promote people that are promoting your breed, and so being involved with that has definitely been. I think when you're in a position like that, like um, you're, I guess I'm fairly easy to contact. I get a lot of people that just they'll find my email or they'll find me on Facebook or whatever, and they'll reach out to me about certain things, or they're trying to get into the sport. So maybe that's part of it with being a representative or an ambassador of the sport, and it's part of my daily walk. As an educator and an ag teacher is to. I mean, you always are being a. I want to always be a positive representative of whoever I'm working for, whoever I'm representing. So you have to be mindful of what decisions you're making, how you're treating people at all those, wherever you're at. And just to be a positive, I always say, when I'm teaching, being positive role models, being a positive, having that positive influence on somebody that needs that. And so
Yeah.
it's just a goal of mine. I'm not saying I'm perfect by any
Well,
means.
you're doing pretty good.
I don't know about that. No, wait a minute now. I don't
No,
know.
I'm pretty
Down that.
sure.
Uh,
I'm pretty sure that you're the type of guy that we could have a disagreement and to walk away from it. And that's what we need more of.
yeah.
Is we need more guys that can agree to disagree. We all got different opinions on stuff, and then you throw competition in that, and it's even worse. We were in the show dog world, man. That's that was.
I think I'm
I'm
getting
glad
ready to.
I'm not in it anymore.
I think I'm getting ready to be in it. My little girls like to show a lot. We're going to dabble into some.
That's the best way. Put them in juniors, man. You can do that.
But yeah, I think to get back to, and when it comes into the dog world and coon hunting in general, and any of our dog sports, there's not as many of us doing it as what there used to be, and we need to be working together and definitely put our differences aside if there is any, and try to work to bring more people into our sport. Like otherwise, it's our traditions, our values. They're there's not anybody to carry them on if we don't bring more people along on the ride with us. And
Yeah.
if we enjoy it, I mean, it's not for everybody, but there's probably somebody out there that will enjoy it. That it brings me a lot of. I've been missing it here this last month. I've had this ankle surgery and just
Yeah, you've been bedridden.
yeah, I don't know, bedridden, but I was definitely non-weight bearing. I wasn't a fan of all that business. And thankful to
That's rough.
Corey Schuler, my buddy that hunted with us that night, and my dad. When
Mm-hmm.
they thankful they live close and were able to do my chores at least and do that kind of stuff and get that, kept everything going on the home front, But my dog, I'm definitely ready to go hunting again and get back out here and get it. My system is I'll probably hunt 4 or 5 nights, 6 nights a week. Um, but my girls go to bed early and I'll go back. I'll go out hunting after they go to bed and hunt for a few hours and get me some sleep and go to work the next day. And I wish
See,
I wish I
I
could
do
just
the
be a
same thing.
professional, but I'm not,
Well, so what's your next big hunt?
Oh, I'll probably hit some smaller hunts this winter. I really like to go to hunts in the winter and when the leaves are off. Next big hunt that I'm going to go to is Winter Classic in Mississippi. That's the next one I know that I've got on my calendar. I want to go to
Is that
UKC
Batesville?
Batesville, and then after that, we'll see how things go. I might hit PKC World again in the spring there. I did that one last year. I really enjoyed it. I like a good challenge. I like to take that red dog out there and compete against all them big name walker dogs. Maybe
Right.
an owner handler of a red bone. It's just I like to be the underdog, but that's me. And uh, I'm trying to think. I'll go to Red Bone Days, probably both Red Bone Days. American Red Bone Days is in Michigan, and then National Red Bone Days will be in Elnora, Indiana, about 2.5 hours east of me. So it'd be on the south and west side of Indianapolis there this year for National Red Bone Days. That's
That's not too far.
no, and then I, I haven't looked too far ahead. I used to hunt a lot of big hunts. Go to the breed days. I don't know how many of them are. I live near Flora. Some years Flora gets quite a few of them. I'm not sure how many they have this next year. So I hunt some larger hunts there. I might try and go to the TOC, the UKC TOC in the spring.
Oh yeah.
Dogs qualified for that. So that's on my. And then I'll hunt the local stuff. We got to have our local clubs and things to go to. So I'll try and hunt when I'm hunting a dog. I might go to one a weekend or something like that. I don't go both nights away. I'll stay home and do something. Then I can go home and do something with the girls one night, and then go to the other night to go to the hunt or something. But
Right.
you know,
That's
yeah,
tough balance, man. Like I tell guys starting off with new families, you can still do it. It's not like it's a do or die thing. But now we got four. So I think two of them might go with me tonight, but it's a lot of work to get everybody in one place at one time.
yeah. My girls like to help me with chores, and you think help, but it's good. They're learning along the way, and we
Like
take
I
it
said,
time.
there's help and there's good help,
Yeah,
right?
I think they'll be great help eventually, but we got to learn.
How old are they?
My youngest Maddie is 3. My oldest is Grace, and she's 7.
Yeah, so you're like our middle two boys are right about that. There's what 6 and 3.
I thought they were about the same age when I was looking.
They're real close. Colin and Connor have got your oldest split, but they love just being part of it,
Yeah.
and I've had to really try to keep them involved in some ways because they don't hunt with me much at all.
Yeah.
But involved in the kennel stuff, and when it's time to give meds, and it's time to
Hmm.
for the first time in God knows how long, I had to trim toenails this year, and I felt so embarrassed. I was not getting to the woods with everything going on, and I'm like, okay, well, here's a lesson on how to do this because hopefully I don't ever have to do this again. They usually keep them wore down pretty good, but
Yeah.
keeping them involved, and there's a there's a couple of kids here local that have shown interest over the years, and tried to get them in and get them going right. And
Yeah.
some stick and some don't.
Yeah.
It just happens, but if you're not putting yourself out there as at least an open source of information,
Hmm.
like yourself, you said just any questions or whatever, just ask.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we need more of, and we need it without an arrogance behind it. And that's what I really appreciated about you. I'm not trying to give you a big head, but it was nice to go out to an event and see so many like real people out there,
Hmm.
not just we were there with some of our colleagues. I got to sit right next to Josh Michaelis and Ben and Steve, and we were all there, and it's a lot of fun. And those are just good, genuine people that I've gotten to know. And then to sit there and you just keep adding these people to this roster of ambassadors for what we're doing in an open book for information. It's really great.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And I think you hit on it earlier. If you can handle the clubhouse, you probably do pretty well.
Hmm.
Um, I thought about these kids growing up because I got to talk to quite a few kids, youth hunters there. And it's so funny because I love the fact that they can come up and they can tell you a story, and it is just like an 80-year-old man told you, or a 30-year-old man, or whatever, because it's like an equal playing field at the Coon house, right? It
Hmm.
just seems like those kids, yeah, they might not know what they know even yet, but to hear them tell a story, that was so cool. And I got talking with Courtney Risk. He came by and had a youth hunter with him, and I am so sorry. I wish I could remember that kid's name, But he said he was showing his dog, and I said, "Well, if you win, you got to send me a picture, and we'll put you in the magazine." And his eyes got huge. So Courtney, if you're hearing this, hook up with me. I need to follow up with you on that. But he was telling his stories and whatever. It's like, gosh, this is awesome, because
Yeah.
this is the future of it. Because I don't. In the end of it, that kid ain't gonna care if he wins a trophy or not. He's gonna remember being out there hunting.
Yeah. Yeah. You're exactly right. And it's kind of fun to watch those kids find their place. It's their places out there, at the clubhouse, out there in the woods hunting. They're talking about it. They're in their element. And it's always fun
Mm-hmm.
to see kids find their place, whatever they're doing, and find something they're really passionate about. And sometimes these kids, especially nowadays with as many few people have hounds, we got to be the ones that are the positive, the person that's available, the person that's willing to take them hunting, and things like that. And I guess I'm a hunter safety course instructor. I've taught a few classes. I need to teach another one again, just to kind of make that build that bridge a
Keep you
little bit.
humble.
What's that?
Keep you humble.
Yeah, right, right. Well, everybody around here, shoot, there's everybody that wants to hunt deer. I mean, that's the main thing, and that's fine. But when I teach the class, it goes through every type of hunting there is, and uh, so then, I'm my background, what I like to do is the dog sports with, uh, you know, coon hunting, and some of them don't even really know what that is or never heard of it, So it's like, it's my job to at least educate them on it and hopefully
It's
expose them to it if they want to
exposure.
go. To invite them. I took a few guys, actually students of mine hunting. I think it was last month, and they went out and we had a good time. We rode around the truck. We didn't really have much of an eventful night. And I don't know. They might go again sometime, but it's always fun to go in season. These guys they want to see the harvest, and all that business. And so
Right.
it's a good time to do it. And in the wintertime, usually if you can find a good weather during our season. But we don't have. You can't go out and line hunt here. We don't have that. We don't really know. There's nobody hunting bobcats with dogs. There's some guys that run coyotes with dogs. So really, essentially, the dog sports in our area are the guys that run rabbit dogs, beagles. There's some
Mm-hmm.
squirrel hunters, not many, with dogs, and then the coon hunters and the guys with the bird dogs and things like that. But that's our hunters with dogs, and so there's not a whole lot of us, especially guys that are free casting dogs. It's essentially the coon hunting guys with the hounds and the guys with the coyote dogs. We're the ones with the dogs that range the furthest, you know.
Sure.
So we're the ones that have to, one of my main goals is making connections with local landowners. A lot of my ground has been bought up by a few big, larger landowners that bought it to deer hunt. So going out and when you're driving by their places and you see them out mowing, stop and talk to them, introduce yourself.
Right.
They notice your dog box in the back of your truck. That's usually a conversation starter. Sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's bad. You know, sometimes
You'll know real
you're
quick.
you're a bad word. Sometimes you're a dog man. But I try and make it a positive interaction. And I had success here a few weeks ago. A lot of mine, a few of my neighbors that hunt around here, they had some bad interactions with the same landowner, and they were told they couldn't hunt. I was told that I could hunt as soon as I got done, as soon as deer season was over on his land with my coon
Yeah.
dogs. I said, okay, just let me know, give me the go ahead. And we exchanged phone numbers and we, shook hands and went about our days. So I was like, well, I guess that's a win.
That's great.
I got a yes. And he even said, hey, if your dog gets over on my property, you're hunting on the neighbor's property. Don't worry, I'm not going to. I said, that's even better.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I called that a very positive interaction. I was like, well, I take that as a win this time anyway. So,
Absolutely. I remember it's been probably 3-4 years ago. We were up cat hunting and we're coming down. I mean, we're way out there, but there's little parcels of landowner, like private parcels out there checkerboarded. And we see this sign and it said pass with grace. And I thought it just kind of hit me funny. You know, it wasn't no trespassing. It wasn't. So we start cracking jokes, me and my hunting buddy, like, all right, what hippie we got up here? And this dude's walking down the road with his dog right there. So we take a second, we stop, and he's talking. Oh, what are you guys doing? We said, well, right now we're driving, but we're out in the area and we're hunting bobcats. And oh yeah, I said we understand this is private. We're not hunting your property. He says, man, I really appreciate it. He was a Southern Oregon hippie. I mean, that's the only way I can describe him. If you know, you know, because he's up in the woods. You know, he's got a knife hanging off the side of him. He's not like a flower dress wearing hippie, but he's like, hey, yeah, no, that's cool, man. If you guys like, I just don't hunt in here, but if you get on here, it is my name's. I'm not going to say his name, but you know, exchanged information with him. And it was a really cool experience to where at least I know if I go back and we do accidentally end up on his land after, let's say it's been these few years, he's still going to remember that because we took time and we talked and we introduced dogs to him. And, you know, it was a positive experience. And that's all it takes, because if you can make that impact with one person, then they say, oh, well, those guys aren't that bad. You know,
Yeah.
that's the big thing to me. And with you guys out there, I know land ownership, you're hunting a lot of private.
Mm.
And out here, it's a lot of pocketed private within timber ground and whatnot. But our game is a lot bigger ranging, you know, I would say, than a traditional coon. We
Hmm.
get on a big mountain coon or something, they might run a ways, but it's not like they're
Yeah.
covering ground. But now, with you guys hunting smaller blocks, when you're looking at properties, if you're trying to stay on that, how small of a place can you really hunt?
Oh,
Because
uh,
looked like Penny gets out there.
well, if she went, like you said, that point 0.7, point 0.8 away from us, I mean, yeah, that's not out of the ordinary for her. That wasn't a freak as she goes as far as it takes
Right.
to go, and that's the way we train them. And that's the hard part with these uh, these hunts that we're hunting is that to get a 2 hour cast in with these dogs going like shotgun pattern all over the country, it's even harder yet. I have some spots that I can take and run cast in, 500-600 acres, a section of woods with almost all the permission, and we'll get out of it every time. I went to a private spot. They're hunting the zones, the UKC World Hunt, excuse me, and we turned loose on public land and had thousands of acres to hunt, and we didn't make a tree on it. They left it as soon as we turned loose on it, and we were on private land. And then finally, I got the dogs gathered up, and I said, "Well, let's may as well just go to another spot. So we ain't going to stay on this land where we wanted to stay on anyway." And we're running a risk every time. Like, and you can't have. It's impossible to have complete because you can't. When you're hunting cast anyway. Now, if you're hunting one dog, they're not going to hunt like they are when you're hunting them in a cast. Like, that's the way our competition bred dogs are wired to go. You put
Mhm.
them with dogs, and they're amped up and they're ready to go, and they're going to get away from the other dogs. That's the way we're training them to go, and that's the way we're breeding them to hunt. And I think that it's going to run its course. I don't know for sure, but that's my prediction. Our spots are not getting any bigger. I think the style of our dogs is going to have to slow down as far as how far they hunt. We're going to have the dogs that are going to treat these raccoons that are close to us. We got dogs that are running through there looking for easy ones, and they're not taking they're not hunting spot out. And I think, and I would like to say that I'm maybe hopefully moving towards a dog that's going to, but red bones have never really been those ones that I can't think. I've seen a post on social media not too long ago, somebody looking for a ambush style red bone. I'm like, there's none out there. We don't, we don't, we don't have them. Walker dogs, there's some out there, quite a few of them. I don't, I highly, highly doubt there's an ambush style red bone out there. There's just not. Red bone guys have not bred enough hot nosed, big motor type dogs to have that, but we have bred coon dog type of dogs, like
Mm-hmm.
that will hunt around you, that will hunt for you. But I've always had a dog that will go hunting and not come back until they tree a coon. That's always been my style of dog. And they'll go as far as they need to go, but they're not going to pass over tracks to go just to go.
They're
Um,
not like, I guess for those who don't understand the competition side, like an ambush dog, you're talking a dog that just runs till it hits a hot like
yeah. Well,
in tree.
the thing with the competition style dogs today is that we want them. They want them deep and lonely. So that means they want them far away and they want them by themselves. And deep and lonely is just it's really 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 hard, especially the longer you hunt in a 2 hour hunt. You can tree one or two close out of the truck. Well, then what happens? Those coons that were there, they all went to trees or got denned up while you're making those first two trees. So you cut them loose off of that, and those dogs are going to range to go find the next one.
Yeah.
And they're going to go even further spread apart. You might make a tree together starting out a cast, and then dogs are going to keep getting split further apart as casts go on. And so I think that's the real challenge in our sport right now with competition dogs is they're not, we don't really necessarily want them to pack up, and we're hunting a pack hound. We're training them to be more independent, and
Yeah.
it's a challenge. And it's the PKC casts are already moving to 90 minutes in some of the higher level hunts. And UKC, we're still at 2 hours there, but I mean, I could see discussions going towards shortening it. We're already hunting a lot of double header 1 hour type of events because our
Right.
spots. You turn 3 or 4 dogs loose, and you just going to run out of area. The longer you hunt, the chances are going to go up. Now, no, it's not every time. We hunted some casts a couple weeks ago. Corey was handling Penny, and dogs didn't go 600 yards either cast. It was probably as far as they went from the truck both cast. But that's not typical. Sometimes you're usually going to have one or two that are going to get nearly out of hearing, and you're going on property you don't have permission on, or you weren't planning on going on, or going the wrong
Right.
way. So it's just a challenge we're dealing with because we've got some public land, but not a lot. And we used to be able to hunt on nearly all the farmers' land, but we've lost a lot of it to leases or to changes in ownership in the last 10 or 15 years. And it's a challenge for our sport right now. And building those positive relationships with the landowners and educating people that don't know about what we're doing, about what when they see lights getting out of the trucks down the road, what is all that, or we're in a hunt not too long ago and cats got split up and our dogs was treed over by these houses for 45 minutes because we had to go score the other dog's tree. And there was a landowner that was out there and this guy lives out in the country around a lot of our hunting spots. And he was really, really like nervous about what those dogs were barking at within about 300 yards of his house. And we explained
Really.
to him, we're coon hunting. Those dogs are treed. They have a raccoon up a tree down there. Oh, hadn't thought about that. We chuckled and said, okay, just people are disconnected from our sport. We got
Mm-hmm.
to do a better job about educating,
Normalizing it.
normalizing it. So the more that I see, the more people that talk about it, the more that we can bring positive anything to it, making it more available for people to see um, in a positive way. And, we've dealt with this for a long time of people putting hounds and hunting dogs in a negative light, whether it's in books or movies or wherever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just, and we're not all bad. I've had
No,
way more good interactions than bad. So
there's always a bad egg somewhere, but
yeah, right. I mean, we're for the most part pretty good, and yeah. salt of the earth type people, good majority of them, and we're not out there to harm anybody or hurt anybody's property or mess up anybody's hunt or anything like that. We're just trying to do what we love to do, and that's what I
Exactly.
tell the deer hunters is like, you know, do you guys have we hunt year round, and you hunt for 3 months, uh, but there's certain places that coon hunters or dogs can't step foot on that property for the entire year, but they want to talk about how high the coon population is. I'm like, well, we could come
Help you
help
with
you,
that.
but so we're just
Yeah, or you end up in a mess like what Colorado's facing,
yeah
with an all-out ban on lion hunting. That's
yeah
it's disconnect now because you're in the competition world,
hmm
but I mean, you're aware of what's going on out there,
oh yeah
right?
yeah
Like, what do you feel like? Because there's always this talk of the East Coast, West Coast. It's like
hmm
the coon hunters and the big game hunters, but we got to bridge that gap, and which I agree with. But like when it boils down to it, we're all houndsmen. The semantics of it, we all have our own preferences and whatever, but we're all houndsmen.
hmm
What do you feel like? Is that getting enough exposure out there in that competition world? Like, is it interesting to a lot of people in that world, do you feel like, or is it kind of
not
a
as
moot
interesting
point?
as it probably should be or eye opening as it should be. Now I've heard some
Yeah.
guys talk about it, and I think this is just it's human nature. If it's not directly affecting them and they're not overly engaged with it, maybe, and then
Right.
they don't realize that certain things are getting taken away little bit by little bit or inch by inch, and to me
Yeah.
that's a big deal because and it happened in California too, right? And
Mm-hmm.
those and so it happened there, and then it's going to happen wherever the next place. Like we gotta try to stop it because it's already been you've had past precedents already set that it's happened over here. So you know that it's possible it can happen. If you get the votes go the wrong way,
Yeah.
whatever you want to say, and we hope that it don't. But I live in one of those states where you never know what could happen in our state. Like we're mostly rural.
Yeah, just roll the dice one day, right? Like,
Here,
who knows where this
mostly
is gonna end up?
we're a mostly rural state, but we have a lot of representatives from urban areas that don't have any idea about what is happening in the rural parts of their state. And sometimes
Yeah.
local representatives don't even understand what affects happen, like what affects local people and dog sports or anything. Because I'll just give an example of something that was happening in Illinois last year with dog sports. Is they do competition um, coon hunts that are not with dogs, and they're just
Oh, like
with
calling
like
contest.
thermals, killing contests,
Mm-hmm.
is what I call them, and they'll stack up 1,000 on a trailer. Team
Yeah.
events, and I asked the game warden about it with wonton waste and concern about what are they doing with all those, and he says, "Well, I'm not going to do anything because all these landowners want them killed." And I said, "Well, that's not right." But he's like, "Well, I can't make all these." He didn't want to make all the other guys mad either. I said, "Well, but they had a bill that was going to. Oh, I can't remember. I think it got dropped in Illinois, but it was something along the lines of it was going to make it open it even more up, allow them to do even more of it, something like that. And then I get the dog people. We had some connections with some local representatives and things, and kind of got it out of. It was in committee and it didn't come out of committee because I think because some of
Ooh,
the work that was done, but it was going to really probably not be very good for dog sports. It was going to be it could even affect it was just going to be a slippery slope for us with dog sports in our state because of
sure.
um, right to retrieve stuff and things like that. There was strategy unfortunately, from other hunting groups to do that. Like deer hunters and things in our state. And so I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember all the specifics, but I know that I know all the local dog hunters got together. We had a big meeting and brought in local representatives, and I guess you could say it did work, but we had local coon hunters that were saying, "Well, I don't know why you're doing that. They'll never do anything like that." And, they were trying it. It was, or they wouldn't have been. He wouldn't have been being promoted like that.
Yeah. No, it makes a big difference. I mean, and that's what I hope, that there's been so much coverage of that. Everybody in the hound media, it seems like, has covered it at some point.
Yeah,
And hopefully the word is getting out there. We've got to try to reach out and educate people, not just on lions or lion hunting, but just about us. I think of it like it's kind of like a job interview.
yeah,
Every time you meet a non-houndsman, right? It's like it's your first impression. You're saying and you're speaking for all of us, whether you want to or not. Just do your best to conduct yourself in a way that you don't have to roll over. I hear a lot of guys, well, I got every right to be here. It's deer season and I can still hunt. Yeah, absolutely. I hunt during our deer season too. I'm selective about it and I try to avoid confrontation as much as possible. But not going to say it doesn't happen.
yeah,
And you just try to handle it with a little bit of grace and realize you probably know more about the laws than they do and just go about your day.
yeah.
But yeah, I hope it is reaching out there to the East Coast and them realizing this is a huge thing. We lost it here in Oregon in '94, bait and dogs. Um and it's a cancer. It's going to keep spreading. I
Right.
hope they
Yeah.
can really kill it.
Yeah, and I think it needs to be a local thing too, because those are the people that are actually voting on it too. Like it's got to be,
Mm-hmm.
you got to get to those people like first too. So
If you know anybody in Colorado,
yeah,
spread the word.
right.
But well, how would somebody get a hold of you? I know you're gonna have like total fan mail now because Ben's already kicking you a bunch of it, I'm sure. But if somebody were interested, how would they get a hold of the Redbone Association, or who would be the best contact for that? And upcoming events or information, who would they reach out to?
Okay, so National Redbone Association would be fairly easy. You can find our website, National Redbone Association. I believe it's nationalredboneassociation.org. You can find it fairly easily by just doing a search. It's got all the information there about upcoming dates and events and things like that. We do have a fairly active Facebook group. You can join that. You can reach out to me, Facebook or um, email. My email's there. Things like that. Um, my phone number is probably not very hard to get either on the website. I'm pretty
You're pretty accessible.
I'm pretty accessible there, but I'm definitely don't know it all. There's plenty of others to contact. So if you have access to, that's what I love about it. It's still the old school with the books, the National Redbone Association Red Book. It's got nearly every member's phone number in it. So if you're interested in redbone dogs, become a member. For
Yep.
that membership fee, you get that book. You get all those contacts in your local area. You know, and I,
I
countless
love that.
people I've tried
I
to see.
use that a lot to
Yeah,
reach out to people like the Breed Association books and the Wisconsin Bear Hunters, and
hmm
it's made it really nice because everybody's so willing to do what they can.
yeah,
They're not hiding. It's
no,
really nice.
exactly. So yeah, anything that has to do with that, and like I said, I'm fairly accessible. I'm not hard to find, and reach out to me if you ever want to talk about anything like that. I love talking to people, new, old, just passionate about what we do, and trying to spread spread about what we do in a positive way, and then educate people about it along the way.
Well, we're gonna do hopefully another one of these or two. You had a list of people you would like to get on, because I would like to do one and dive in to the red dogs a little
Yeah,
more. So hopefully we'll be hearing from you and maybe some other guests too in the future. But I
sure.
really appreciate you coming on, TJ. As always, you're
Well,
very accommodating.
thanks for having me. I appreciate all you do, and thank you for the opportunity to be on here and talk about something I'm really passionate about and have been for a long time now.
Oh, absolutely, man. We'll have you back on here soon.
All right, sounds good. Looking forward to it.